with me here. I'm trying to make sure. I got it here. All right. So now, let me just do a view. My apologies, you guys. It's not letting me. Here we go. How to drag that through. Perfect. So view slideshow. Okay, so what we're going to get started with. So first of all, my name is Irina. I'm a licensed physical therapist with my board certification in neurologic physical therapy. And just like many of you, horses have been part of my passion since I could walk. And my background when integrating hippotherapy, I started a volunteer as a sidewalker back in college about 15 years ago. And throughout grad school, I actually volunteered at different facilities integrating hippotherapy. I also been doing it myself the past 5 to 6 years, both in Minden, Nevada, and also California side. I live in Truckee right now. And I sit on the board of directors for the American Hippotherapy Association and also the chair for the research committee. So I've been helping conduct research for about 10, 15 years now for the University of California, San Francisco. And I still help also teaching there as well. And research has really come a long way. And so today we'll be really looking at the new things that AHA has to offer, and even also strategies too of how you could also use research to help elevate your practice and really help get that buy-in with patients, medical providers, and the general public as well. So for disclaimers, there's no products promoted here. There's no financial incentives either. And so for the objectives, so briefly go over the research history. Actually, it's pretty fascinating, and review key aspects of the research section, the research matrix that Adria has been a rock star in getting put together for us. So I'm really excited to be showing that to all of you. And even a couple tips about how to merge evidence-based practice with research. And that's a huge thing that we have in our practices right now, is to really figure out what that balancing act is between the two, and also address strategies to help educate the public. And there's a lot of great resources on the AHA's website as well to help facilitate with that. And also review the importance of proper terminology and application of research findings, and really how to help figure out where we all fit in with that to make sure that we're educating ourselves properly, patients, medical providers, and the public as well, and to really represent AHA in the best capacity as possible. And then we'll have questions and also some discussion points at the end. All right, so first of all, when it comes to horses and research, so horses have been integrated into therapeutic intervention since the 2nd century. And so actually Hippocrates and different individuals, they discussed how horses would help with calming sensations for individuals, and really developing this bond with an animal that's much bigger than us, and actually an animal of prey, to really trust us and have us be part of their herding, actually pecking order. And so it's really been fascinating to learn more about that. And actually some of the first places were Kazakhstan and actually Mongolia and modern day Russia actually is where a lot of those sorts of first research took place. And as many of us know, in 1952, Liz Hartel won the silver medal in the Olympics as an equestrian, and she really attributed that to riding a horse and the equine movement really helping her regain strength and mobility back. And the last time that I checked, there are thousands of articles addressing various therapeutic interventions when it comes to horses. I mean, last I checked, I believe there are over 30,000. So what I was looking at was equine therapy, kind of that generalized term, hippotherapy, calming techniques for different, trauma survivors, veterans, and just really what the horse provides as a therapeutic modality strategy for many of us. And I'm pretty sure all of us could also discuss that as well. With horses, we feel more calm, we feel much more present, and it's really beneficial for everyone who's involved if we're open to the experience. So when it comes to research, so the first recorded history of clinical trials dates back to 500 BC. And so that was actually in the Bible, the book of Daniel. So King Nebuchadnezzar, I tried to pronounce his name multiple times before his presentation. It's a very tricky name. And so when they were in Babylon, they were about to go to war. And so he claimed that his soldiers, wine and meat was the best diet before they went into battle. They were the healthiest that way. But then many soldiers stated that they were vegetarian. They like legumes, they like different plants, plant-based diet. And so he actually allowed some of his best soldiers to continue eating that diet versus wine and meat. And what they actually found a month later was the individuals who actually didn't have the wine and meat, but had the more plant-based diet, were much more active, had better survival rates during the war actually, versus, so that was the first kind of clinical trial that came to be, which is really interesting. And so in 1025 too, and so Avicenna decided to also look at different drugs and the effects. And placebo just started taking place in the 1800s with different pain medications to see if individuals actually, medications actually helped, or what about the mind also, that mind-body connection, which was really interesting. And the first randomized clinical trial just took place in 1946, so not that long ago. And so before we get started on the research website, so why is research so important to us? And so it helps inform action. So the more knowledge is power, and for us to really dive into, really educate our providers and also our patients of why equine movement is so beneficial. And also helps challenge us to think outside the box, be more creative, because for many of us, and myself included, I'm also guilty of this, you kind of get into this tunnel vision of, okay, I know these interventions work A, B, and C, but then really take a step back and read more about literature and really integrating all the different processes to really help make it a very holistic approach for your patient. And also helps you as a clinician, because then you're open to many more opportunities and different sort of strategies to really help these individuals. And also helps keep your neuroplastic changes and helps your brain staying sharp. And as a clinician, that is so important for us. And also problem solving skills. What may work for one individual won't work for another. So that's why pulling research and looking at different bits of information and thinking, oh, my client or my patient will benefit from this, this may not. And always knowing that you could change it. And so now, before we continue on, is how to interpret the research. And so there are many different ways to be doing this. And so one way that I always start off with is compare and contrast to other similar research findings. What was different about this article versus another? What about the sample size, interventions? How long were they taking place for? What was the addition of certain exercises? What was taken? How do they monitor the clients or the participants outside the study? Whatnot, and biases, that's a huge one. And so, of course, we always all think equine motion is the best, because we all practice it and we see how beneficial it is. But it's also making sure we could also take a step back effectively and really understand that it may not be the most appropriate for some individuals. With research, how can we help figure out what interventions will help prepare them to participate in equine movements, activities, or whatnot, or if it's just not appropriate, and what else we could do for them. And so also outcome measures, that's really important, as we know, for reimbursement purposes, and also for us to really see clinical significant changes for individuals and to really see what's working for them. And by having those hardcore numbers, it really helps put those pieces together for us. And so, but also too, merging the evidence-based practice with research. So many of us are seasoned clinicians, and it's always taking a step back, again, like I mentioned before, and being familiar with different scientific principles, sensory integration theory, dynamic theory, and different ones coming out as well of how the nervous system can filter out, proper filters and whatnot, proper stimuli and whatnot. And so making sure we really understand the human body. And even when it comes to horses, and really understand, like entrainment, when we manipulate the horse's movements to help really achieve what we want, and really thinking about it in all different ways. And also, again, safety first and do no harm. And so horses, as we all know, are very unpredictable animals sometimes. And even the outdoor environment also poses more of that safety risk versus a very controlled inside clinic environment. But then making sure to also think about what else can you be doing outdoors with your patient and the horse, or just with your patient as well, and really kind of thinking creatively in that sense. And also just knowing how many trials are you going to do with a patient before you understand or realize, okay, this is not going to work. Oh, hey, you know what? There's something here. Let me modify just a little bit. And looking back at the research of what they're finding with nervous system principles, muscle adaptation principles. And so there's a lot of different things that we could be pulling from for research to help really create that optimal plan of care. And so usually the ones that we look at are observational studies or clinical trials, or randomized mostly, that's what we see. And so something I came across that I also teach my students is the 5 A's. And so the 5 A's in evidence-based practice, and these tend to be pretty easy to remember, for me at least as well. And so always ask a question, what are you trying to figure out? So when you're looking at the research matrix on the AHA website or the different documents that we provide, what are you trying to figure out? What diagnoses do you have in mind? What kind of interventions are you also trying to pull from? And how long potentially should these interventions be beneficial for? And so acquire the information. And so this could be from textbooks, the bibliography that we have on our website, and it continues to grow, which we're very, very excited for. And also the next is appraise the articles found. And so as we all know right now, we have access to anything at our fingertips right now, and really critically assessing, is this article really demonstrating what it's supposed to be demonstrating, or is there more fluff in it, or is it not really clear what they're trying to accomplish? And so really take a look at the articles and really ask yourself those critical questions before, during, and after. And usually when I'm looking at articles for research studies that I'm helping out with, or articles that I'm writing, I always like to read it 2 to 3 times. I read it one time, kind of sit back, kind of meld with it a little bit, put notes on it, and then continue on to see, okay, is this article really going to help me achieve what I'm trying to accomplish? And apply the information. This is what we do every day when speaking to medical providers, treating our patients, educating our family, friends, the public, anyone. We're doing this all the time and trying to figure out what that carryover is. And so audit the impact. I really like this one because it does show what is the aftermath after all this. Do we get a new client? Do we have a new insurance provider saying, okay, thank you for showing me all this information and what you're accomplishing when utilizing equine movement? And so by even showing that key information of, okay, we did all these different things, what happened afterwards? And so that reflective piece as well. And that's where also I like to look and see, okay, if I took a step back, did I do everything possible to help really achieve this? Or could have I changed it a little bit here? Should I phrased it a different way to an individual? What could have I done to really keep that reflective component as I'm looking through all the research? All right, so now we're doing the resources section on the AHA website. So Adria has been really working hard with the website task force, and also Matt, who's also here as well. They've been working a lot, and they're continuing to do more updates on the research section of the website, just to really make it more applicable to everyone that wants to read about it and really make it more beneficial for all of us as a whole. So now we pull out of here. I tried to do this morning to log it in, but it wouldn't let me, so my apologies on that. All right, so for resources, so we have a lovely tab at the top. And so as you can see, we have FAQs for therapists and students. We have a lot of really great resources through here. And so what I tend to do, just to keep myself on top of it, I come back here maybe every 3 to 6 months and see what's been updated. And so even what I have also at my clinic, I also have a binder that I print out things and I highlight key points. So just to remind myself of different things, just to make sure, because I know between the holidays, work, everything else could be hard to forget a couple key things. So having that binder nearby is always a great reminder for me to go back and review things as needed and then check the website as well. So what we're going to start off with, so we have here to start off with the background. And so for here, we're also going to be changing this a little bit more as time goes on. As you can see, it shows the different sorts of research hierarchy actually. And so meta-analyses are the best research articles to come by, but they tend to take the most work and dedication. So that's why we tend not to see as many of those, even though I do know that a couple of researchers, when utilizing equine motion with the sense of hippotherapy and making sure you use correct terminology, they are working on that. And so it's really exciting to see more of that shift happening. And so for here, as you can scroll down, we have all these really wonderful resources. And so when it comes to evidence-based practice, and so again, like I mentioned before, we have to merge the two together. One could not exist without the other. And so you could also look for all of these. And I love going through the bibliography and reference list. And so we just updated this last year. And as you could see, we have a lot of articles. And so usually when it comes to most up-to-date, you're looking probably 2015 and over is when you'll find most of the most pertinent research, but there are a few historical pieces too that are really important as well. And so what I've done before is just pick random ones that really spoke to me and I read those. And so I put them also in my binder, keynotes and whatnot. So if patients ever ask me or if parents ask me, how does this benefit my child? Already I could say, well, these are research articles I've come across, and a few of them actually want to read the articles themselves. And so it's just having that kind of my own database just to help also promote that education for the parents. And a couple of them even asked for this, which was really awesome. They wanted to take a look and really just empower themselves as well and have discussions about what hippotherapy, how could really benefit their child. And we have many different articles here, which is exciting. And we also have book chapters here as well. And that's where also I tend to purchase a lot of the books as well. I've got quite a few of them and just always keeping up to date. And so as time goes on, we will be updating this more and more books. And also we encourage our members, if they come across something that maybe we missed, because there's so much out there, to always let us know. And that's really important, to make it very collaborative amongst all our members, and not think that, okay, we have this committee, they're separate from us and whatnot, but it's a really collaborative effort. And that's where we want to continue to see AHA go and thrive as. And so as you can see here, there's quite a few of them, and also case studies. And I know we also were doing case studies as well as meetings, so anything just to help really benefit your learning and to continue on is fantastic. And as you could see, articles and book chapters as well. So we have a lot of different resources to look through. And so for me, the first time, it took me about an hour and a half to really look through this the first time and see, okay, which articles, what am I really trying to target this time around to look at? And so if you have some time, just dive on in and take a look at all of these. And they're really fantastic articles. And we do really try to look at each of them critically and really make sure it represents hippotherapy well. And so these are definitely the best ones for you to be looking at. And so here, let me click out. And so this is where we're really just important for that resource. And so next also, let me get right here. Sorry, my apologies, my mouse sometimes. All right, and resources too. Here we go. And so again, the bibliography here. So we really want to make sure people are aware that this exists. And my apologies, my computer is about 10 years old. And so what we have here as well is references again. And so it's really easy to find that resource list, and also outcome measures. And so what we did a couple of years ago was really consolidate and really prioritize different outcome measures that we have that have been used and actually found to be beneficial for individuals when utilizing equine movement. And we have different outcome measures for OT, PT, and speech. So it's a huge document. So you could take a look, and it's just a nice little cheat sheet for you to look at to really know which outcome measures will help you determine the most significant differences, and to really help with your documentation. Even if you're doing a case study, research studies, or helping also educate students in your local area or other practitioners even, these are the outcome measures that you would like to be using, and they're most beneficial. And so here the framework as well. And so the ICF model, it's always good to take a look at it, because you want to make sure you're really addressing the entire person. It's not just some mobility impairment or whatnot, but it's really to think back at the person. And that's often our hook to really get the patient motivated and inspired to continue making more of these changes in their lives. And so not just thinking about one part of our body, it's the whole person. And so I really like to take a look at this as well, just to make sure that's this overview that we really continue to look at for individuals. And so for here, you could see also more helpful information. And so evidence-based practice, again, you could see here the different resources of really how to merge that amongst your practice. And it's always a good review. I tend to look at this maybe once or twice a year from PT, from my scope of practice. And it's really just nice to see that. And something else that I really like as well here is the UK one as well. And so even like talking about research, so this one's a little bit busy, so it could be very overwhelming to look at this website. But what's really great though, is to look at different trials, different also research practices, and just to take a look, and even the different sorts of platforms that they have. And it's just nice to take a look at this one. And so I could spend over an hour looking at this one. But the one thing that I do like here is toolkits. And so this one really helped me figure out before when I help with case studies, research, and even writing things to physicians, because some physicians that I've worked with before, they were definitely more on the fence initially of, well, you're using a horse, isn't that high risk? Like, I'm scared of horses. Why would you put a child, with different, deficits on this horse? And so by even looking at all these different ways to actually start writing the research and helping put the pieces together, so it's in a way that it runs smoothly for them, for the physicians, for them to read this over and not make it too lengthy, because physicians are very busy like the rest of us. And so really just keeping it to the point. So what I've done before is about a page. And so they have questions. And so I love this toolkit because it really helps you identify how to write research, how to really help even like when you think about research studies that you're looking at, to help also with, fighting your case, whether you're talking to physicians, insurance providers, the public, and really making sure to tie everything in nicely. And so here I've spent easily an hour before just to take a look at night before going to sleep. But sometimes my calming read that I like to do. And so it really just helps you out. And so the more knowledge is power, and the more you can really help interpret this is really fantastic. And so definitely take a look at this. Like guidelines, I mean, it has so much great information here as well as a resource. And so always making sure to take a look at that. And so I will not continue to look for all of these because of timing, but as you can see, the toolkit is where you can find a lot of great information. And so for here, so what we're going to look at next, so funding, I'll kind of scroll over. And so these are all the wonderful peer-reviewed journals that really have a lot of backup, I would say, or street cred, as you could say as well, just to really show that the articles that they do write, chances are they're going to be really good ones. And so these are the ones also that as well, that many of the research articles that I look up, it's usually within one of these. And by clicking on them, I mean, I've been looked up before, musculoskeletal issues before, and then trying to tie it in with equine movement, and even, emotional, issues, and how to help also our patients with self-compassion. So I've looked at a lot of different things throughout all these different articles or research platforms. And so it really helps out quite a bit. And my favorites on the Neuro PT, I look at the Journal of Neurologic Physical Therapy quite a bit. And that's more, just not my bias, but that's just where I tend to look because of the patients that I tend to see. And also just neurorehabilitation, just to really help with the different sensory systems and different, neuroplasticity, and to really help educate patients to why what we do, but work that we do is so important. And so next, we have the resources, which are, my apologies, already looked at. So let me take a look. And the last but not least, so with Adria, she was a rock star. So thank you again. We have all these different articles that we've looked through, and Adria has been a rock star for many, many months putting this together for us. So this is the evidence matrix that we've been working on for quite some time, and really excited to be showing this. And so again, at the top, we do have this disclaimer because we can't control what researchers say. We can't, go back to them and say, okay, you used the wrong word, use horse therapy. That's not right. We have to use equine motion. What we try to do is make this as comprehensive as possible because we do believe there is good information in there. But again, it's your responsibility as a clinician to pull apart what you think is pertinent and important. And like even also when it comes to translation, that's a huge one that I've seen quite a few times. So for example, like there's some articles in Japanese, and I speak Japanese. And so they actually say uma teribua, which means horse therapy. And so many of these translators, they don't have a background that we do when it comes to equine motion, hippotherapy, equine assisted therapy, different words. And so that is something else. Like the best intentions are there. It's just a translation issue. And so we're trying to work more of that right now. But different languages, that's where we see quite a bit of that. Russian, the same thing, German, the same thing. And so they say always horse therapy, because for them, we're trying to get more from, say, hippotherapy. So we are more on our way to get there, which is exciting. And so again, always, keep in mind that critical assessing skills that we all have to really see what is pertinent. And so I'm going to just go over here. So as you can see, it's all alphabetized by different impairments, diagnoses, and we're going to continue updating this as time goes on. And so as you could see, we have the title and the description and the results and conclusions from this review. And so some of these articles we do have access to, but you have to be a member of that certain search engine for some other ones as well. So we can't just have unfortunately, we can't have all the articles there, but if you belong to a local library or also to an institute, an educational institute, most of the time they can get this information for you. Our intent is just to show that there's so much research going on out there. We want to make sure it's easy for members and individuals utilizing equine movement to look at this, because we have very busy days. And so making sure we could really pull key information and then maybe even inspire us, like, oh, we saw this article. How can that help with better enhancing our knowledge and also enhancing our practices when it comes to helping our patients? And so let's take a look at another one. So let's do multiple sclerosis. And so here, as you could see, description, the results. And you can see there's many different ones here as well. And so it's really fantastic that we're having all this be put together. And so making sure too, so when you click article citation, and what's fantastic too, so also have article details here as well. And so it really helps break down the information. So if you have a new client coming in with a certain diagnosis, you could always take a look and see what's out there. And it's really coming along together nicely. And so also too, I mean, we're always open to other articles, and we'll also be taking a look at, the criteria, make sure it fits what we stand for at the AHA, but anything also that you all come across as well, we're always open to new feedback, new articles, and again, making it very collaborative. And so I know that there was quite a bit of information here right now. So do you have any questions so far about what we looked at here? I know it's a lot of information. And so you could always also email Adria or myself afterwards as well. And so we're always open to feedback or questions that you have as well, because during the presentation, you're taking in everything. And then like 5 minutes afterwards, you have your question. I'm very guilty of that myself. So anything that you have, let's see. Yes. So Sandy, absolutely incredible work. Yeah. So it's different committees all put together. And again, Adria, we really cannot thank her enough for everything that she's done and sending us emails. What do you think of this and that? And just being very creative with this. It's pretty incredible, everything that's been put together. And it definitely takes a village.
Irina, I just wanted to add one thing too. So with the matrix, you can go directly to the matrix, but also up at the top of our website, if you do search our site, if you type in a diagnosis, it will pull up those articles as well. So there's different ways to access it. So, you could always type in multiple sclerosis there, and then it will pull up the various articles that we have listed. So I just wanted to add that was one more way to search and find what you're looking for too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as you can see here, there's plenty of different ones here, which is fantastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you, Adria. Is there information for facilities?
So Martha, the evidence matrix is actually available to anyone. So this is on the public facing side of our website. So you do not have to be a member. That's, one thing that Irina talked about at the beginning of her presentation is sharing this information with families, with medical providers. So all of this information is available for anyone who comes to use our website. Mm-hmm. But then Irina is going to cover Science Direct, which is a little different. That is a membership based program that you have to have access to.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. And so what we're trying to do also as we progress more with the AHA is to really provide more resources for the public. And so that's something that we are considering more of, because people that have backgrounds with horses, we are a small but very mighty group. And so the thing is, all of us understand, the benefits of, horse interaction, horse movement, but many people out there don't. And so what we're trying to do is to help really expand that more. So then people really understand the key differences between what we provide, what is unique, versus another sort of intervention. And so we're going to also go over just about social media pretty soon too, and about research and how we're trying to help, balance out everything that we're coming across right now. So now, let me click out of here. All right, so we looked over. So let me just go back over here. All right, so the membership benefits. So that was a perfect segue, Adria, into that part. And so what we have also on our members page, so we have additional resources that's only accessible to our members. And we do ask that we do keep that more to ourselves and not just have it be distributed amongst the public. And so what's really fantastic is we have a MedBridge affiliation. And so MedBridge has a lot of fantastic classes. So I believe it's $175. Correct me if I'm wrong, Adria. And so there is a discount. And so if you sign in with your information for the AHA, you get a very nice discount with the code. And so it really helps, again, expand our knowledge. And MedBridge is really, a lot of the classes that I've taken are fantastic. And I've taken classes from, scoliosis management, outdoor physical therapy, which I do practice actually in Truckee right now, and just like pelvic floor, different neurologic orthopedic diagnoses. And so there's a lot of great information out there, even how to expand your practice, like marketing. They have a lot of fantastic resources and a lot of things that I've helped with actually educating the public up here in Truckee about hippotherapy. And so I've taken a lot of great information from those classes to help it apply to what I'm doing up here. And so next is a Science Direct membership. So this is fantastic. So this is available only to our members. And so I'm not going to go on there just because of a privacy part, but it has so many wonderful articles that actually, they do address equine movement, hippotherapy. And so if you are a member, I've not taken advantage of it yet, please sign up today. It's very easy. You have to use your sign-in information for your member login, and it's very straightforward to do. And so you have access to thousands of articles. And I even looked up different ones about, neuroplasticity, even like, muscle adaptation, like I mentioned before, I found some really fantastic ones. And even about, the horse-human relationships, all these different things that really help put our practices together. And so it really makes us very comprehensive and not just thinking about things one way. So I take advantage of this quite a bit. The Science Direct, it's really fantastic. And so like I mentioned before, also access to articles and resources not open to the public. So I already logged on to my membership portal here. And so members only. So we could see this here. And so here I am. And so members, I'm not going to go on any of these, but as you could see, there's so many great resources here to take a look at. And also these live in my binder at home, not at my clinic. And so I always take a look at these as well, because also I work with students. And so it's another great way just to really get all that information that's pertinent, and also coding and billing positions, because unfortunately that S code still exists out there for utilizing hippotherapy, which is not good. So I know all of us can speak to that we're really trying to push away from that and know that we use regular PT/OT speech reimbursement codes. There's nothing different or special when it comes to that. And also membership resources for print. And so this is also what I've used before, is the marketing for your practice. And so I've loved that one. That's really helped out quite a bit. And also different briefs even research reviews. And so just really taking advantage of this part of a website and really taking a look at it. And everyone from the website task committee, Adria, has done a fantastic job with organizing all these things together for us. So it really helps us really elevate our practice and really optimize what we do on a regular basis. Because a lot of times with, just the way that the world is right now with the internet, all these things we have access to our fingertips, a lot of it comes down to also how we represent ourselves in our clinic and our practice to really get the word around about what we're doing. Because we can't fight everything on social media. We can't fight everything on the internet that misrepresents what hippotherapy is. So it really just speaks to us and our responsibility to really do due diligence to how we practice. And I don't mean to lecture about that. It's just I'm very passionate about this and just really making sure that, we do everything right by our patients, by the AHA, and also the horses that we use too, and to really make it what it is today. And that really took a lot of our founding members and everyone put together to really, make this work. So now let's go back here. And so now going back to strategies. And so even on the website too, you will be finding different ways to educate the public. And this is more in the membership resources with the marketing. And so what you could do while integrating the research findings that you could find on the matrix, and also maybe your own like research, as well, textbooks that you have, books in general. And so create flyers and handouts. My husband is very creative. He's the artistic one out of the two of us. And so he creates all my flyers. And so making sure we put them up around town and even patients, parents, they take them to show to other individuals. And even hospitals up here as well have been wanting more information about hippotherapy in general. And even also attending hospital meetings and rounds. I understand that all of us are really busy with our practices, with inflation, and also with the pandemic. It's really hard to, step away and do those sorts of things. But even I've done quite a few Zoom meetings with different physicians and even like hospital rounds to educate like medical students, like residents, on what hippotherapy is. And so it's just having that creativity to figure out, okay, how can we better educate the public on what we're doing and why? And another place is, horse shows and different community health events. And so taking a look at your town where you live, and also update your business website and social media platforms. And I could definitely be better about that one. But definitely just, spreading the word out there, but really taking advantage of a research matrix and really understanding what we have there as a platform to really help better educate the public. And again, I always take a look 3 to 6 months on the AHA website and really take a look at the different key parts just to make sure I'm not missing anything. I have a nice cup of tea. My husband watches the kids at that moment, and I just have my quiet time to, dive in and take a look at everything. And it's a really nice way just to calmly, take a step back afterwards and reflect on, okay, what have I learned today? And how can I, implement that into my daily practice and routine? And so students, and so this is a big one that's been coming up more and more. Students are really interested in what hippotherapy is. And so even like that creative aspect of, using a horse, that's quite novel for a lot of people. And so when I have students reach out to me, I always refer them to the AHA website, and there's a section I will pull up in a second, and they show also informational PowerPoint video and actually a terminology and guideline document. So whenever a student reaches out to me, I always send them this information. That's the first thing I do. I have that in the folder actually on my computer. So it's very quick. I send it over to them so they could take a look themselves, and any questions that they have, I'm always open to discussing with. And also AHA has been really good about making sure we get the right resources for students and encourage them to ask questions, really engage that curiosity to what hippotherapy is, and also looking at clinical placements at an appropriate site. And so not to be like the Debbie Downer here, but as we all know, there are practices throughout the country that they say that they're utilizing hippotherapy, but there's a lot of safety issues. They're not really speaking to the equine motion as much. And I've come across a few of those places recently, and it's not to, cap it down on them and whatnot, but to really, discuss with the AHA, the board of directors, the different educators that we have, the faculty that we have, to really make sure that students are going to appropriate sites. And so really making sure to do that. And on the website, you could talk to different people on the faculty part. You could see who's involved, and to really help students get the best sort of experience that they have possible. So again, it's just making sure that they get the right resources and not, cap down on other clinics. We don't want to do that, but get that proper representation and experience for them possible. And so next, so I'll go back to a website in a little bit too. And so here is terminology. This is the biggest part that we're also always addressing with individuals is, and again, what's being written on various social media platforms. They actually had a study showing that about 86% of individuals that participated in this study, and there are about, I believe, 40,000 people that they reached, 86% did not believe what they saw on social media. And so that's a really big number. And so we do have a lot of that skepticism when it comes to what people are writing and how people talk about horses, and even talking about what the benefits are, but people not staying in their scope of practice as well. And parents are reading this, people not familiar with equine motion or even the medical aspects of it and the therapeutic benefits of it. So again, it's not for us to cap down, on every single outlet or whatnot. But again, our responsibility is to also promote more of the accurate representation of what we provide. And I would definitely take a look at the AHA's document. And I do tend to look at that also more frequently, just to make sure that when I'm writing information down, when I'm presenting, when I'm sending information to physicians or my flyers, everything is lined up. And even another option too, I've asked different all-stars of the AHA, actually different faculty, to even take a look at a couple of my things, just to make sure if I'm not sure about something, I ask questions. I always have a mentality of it's better to ask more questions than not, to make sure that you really have the pertinent information and making sure it's a proper terminology. And everyone so far has been really friendly. And I always give them like a month or two advance notice, not like a week or anything, because everyone's busy. So just to be respectful of that as well. And to really just make sure that you could feel comfortable also speaking to what hippotherapy entails. And so what I do sometimes with my husband is I actually try to explain what hippotherapy is to him. He's not medical. And so just making sure that he understands, oh, that's what you mean by that. Or ask me questions sometimes, what do you mean by that word? And so because we may think, oh yeah, this makes perfect sense, but then to somebody else it may not. So again, that reflectiveness and mindfulness of how we present ourselves is really important. And taking the terminology documents is a great foundation and a great way to get started. And always ask questions. That's always the most important part. And so for here, I'm going to click out. So even here, therapists and students. So this is where I also tell the students to go to, and also individuals that I work with at different clinics. And so if physical therapists, that's what I mostly work with, have questions about hippotherapy, I have them go straight here, literally on my phone. I'll send them this direct link to them. And so they could take a look and see and to make sure. So terminology for healthcare, this is a really popular one that I use quite a bit, that I look at. And so as you could see, it is very specific. And even for some of my documentation, I cite AHA obviously with it, but I put down the exact definition. So it's very clear, it's very succinct what that is. And so as you can see here, treatment strategy versus tool, and so the billing codes and what a modality is, because when I first started actually learning about hippotherapy many, many years ago, I called it a modality before PT school, and I was also guilty of that. So making sure that you're always up to date with the different definitions. And as you could see. So again, I know this is a ton of information, but what I like here as well on the bottom, they show also terminology not recommended. So it really helps make it more clear of what we should be using and things that are not as ideal. And so as you could see, equine assisted services, all of these, because that could be easily misinterpreted as, are you treating the equine? Is there an individual involved? And so it really has that confusion. So definitely keeping away from those sorts of words and descriptions. And so here, this is also and also for documentation purposes, and just making sure, because as we all know, we can't say rider, in our documentation, oh, the rider did A, B, and C. And so just making sure, because a lot of us are horse people, myself included. So just always being mindful of our documentation and what we write. And so I know, again, this is a mouthful of information and I keep going. So is there any questions so far, or, any feedback, anything that you guys want to contribute to this so far? All right, I guess, Adria, there's no questions, right? I'm not missing anything?
Nope, you're good.
All right. And again, you guys, I know it's a lot of information. And so really just to process this afterwards, and I sent Adria my PowerPoint presentation. So if you also would like it afterwards, you could always have access to it, or also bounce ideas off of me. I love research and interpreting the data. So we're always resources, as well as a research committee too. And so now going back to here, and also just a warning, you guys. So I have 2 under 2. My husband is on kid patrol on the other side of the house. So you may hear my 2-year-old screaming in a second. So my apologies. We have a small house and bears outside. So I can't present outside. And it's 22 degrees out there. So I would rather stay indoors. So next, what we're going to do as our wrap up. So let's do you here to go back and forth. And so for here, and so again, terminology is important. I know it's like literally we're always beating it into everyone, making sure about terminology, but it really does make a difference. Making sure of how we represent ourselves and making sure that we're always up to date. And always, again, making sure about what we put out there is accurate. So it can be very easy sometimes to quickly write something up and kind of for the sake of being done with it. But I'm pretty sure amongst our group, we're pretty good about that, but just always being mindful of how we come across and what we're saying. And the terminology document is fantastic. And so here, ways to continue learning. And so we always have to continue learning as providers. It helps us keep also more motivated and also helps reduce burnout as well, because it's not the same thing over and over again. We always have to keep that curiosity. And so, review the AHA bibliography and reference list. And so we try to update that, more often now. And what's really exciting for our research committee, we're trying to put together a new inclusion exclusion criteria. And so we're trying to actually keep up more with the research that's coming out, because there's hundreds of articles constantly coming out. And so what we're trying to do is keep more on top of it right now. And so what we're trying to do every year, hopefully. And so what I do, just my own personal thing, is revisit the resources tab every 6 to 12 months. And so even other questions too, just keep looking at it. It's a lot of fun to do that, just to keep abreast with what's going on, what we're updating. And again, like the current research, what we have on the matrix, have an open mind, but also stay critical of it. And so making sure to really ask those in-depth questions as you're reading through, okay, like how does it accomplish A, B, and C? what do they do, on the horse, off the horse, those sorts of things. And really just to always keep that kind of aspect to it and keep an active mind while you're reading, not passive, like, oh, that was cool what they did, and then kind of move on. Always assess it as much as you can. And also prioritize research from the past 7 to 10 years. That tends to be the most up to date that we have. But even ones from before that, I found amazing research. So don't dismiss it completely. But if you're more in a time crunch, and so that's kind of a timeline that you're looking at usually. And other resources to elevate your practice. And so what I've done recently too is like I have my own bookshelf of all these different horse books about the horse-human relationship, history of horses. And that even helps like really inspire other parents of patients to want their kids to utilize equine movement, and actually have a plan of care, integrate hippotherapy by talking about, the history of horses, and just these like really cool nuggets that are not as scientific. And that seems to really pull people in more and not just their research. And so some patients, they love hearing about the research, others don't. And so, but even like some cool facts about horses, like the AHA has like their Instagram of these really fun facts about horses. And so, but I've used those with clients recently and people really like them. And so really looking also at the Instagram for AHA as well to get some cool facts. And it's been really beneficial. And so what I've also been doing as well is my own book or topics list. And so I kind of like have a goal for myself every month of, okay, what kind of concept do I want to learn about this month? And so sometimes I get to it right away, other times I don't, and then it gets pushed back to the next month. But having a goal to learn about something new and even having, different groups of therapists that you talk to. Like I have a texting group with the girlfriends from UCSF. And so we text each other, oh, did you hear about this machine? Or did you hear about this new intervention? What about ataxia? What do you know about nystagmus? And so it just kind of keeps you going. And we do it maybe twice a month, just text messaging and then chat on the phone sometimes. And it just helps kind of create those like creative juices keep going. And also mixing up your treatment session. And so, because I know sometimes in the clinic, it could be very easy to be, okay, we have this part, and this part. And like one thing that I've done recently with a patient of mine with MS. And so we utilize, obviously have hippotherapy as part of a treatment intervention. And one thing she always enjoyed was ballet. And so I did ballet for many years. And so we actually do ballet movements on the horse. And then afterwards, doing some of that overground as well. And her 5 times sit to stand, her balance testing has improved significantly after 6 weeks. And I actually kind of thought about doing a case study on her and having that creativity of just even on the horse, doing certain movements that create like ballet movements, obviously the postural part of it, the sensory, proprioceptive parts of doing those movements, the timing of movements, and just really kind of adding more to it when it's appropriate. Other people I would never do that with, but just thinking outside the box like that and just really inspiring patients to want to keep coming back to what you're doing and just having that creative outlet of just, okay, what else can I be adding to my practice to really help out my patients and to really help what we're trying to achieve with our patient populations. And the last thing, I love this part, is stay curious. And so always question things, always have discussions and don't feel that maybe it's a stupid question. There's never a stupid question. I don't think that exists because everyone thinks differently. And it's really important to always think about that as well, because our way is not the only way. There's many different ways to do things and have that creativity continue. And even look at the articles. Sometimes I have other friends, like we kind of summarize different articles and chat about them over coffee. And so just making it creative in that kind of way. And so how you could also help too. So we have a lot of different committees, and I know that the research committee, we're also always looking for more members too. And we have a really great team so far, but again, more brains are better than one, as I like to say. And so get involved with different committees. And so even like also the up-to-date information and healthcare providers, making sure you're always up to date to educate them. And also how you could talk to local communities. And that's a really great way to get started and attend different classes. And so even like I have a Wee Horse, that's something that I'm using right now. And so it's just different ways to learn about horsemanship skills, horse and motion relationships, things of that kind, and just really helping make it more well-rounded when it comes to hippotherapy. And also writing articles for HA Magazine or blogs. That's another great way to also get involved because we're always looking for different ideas. And so anything that you have, we're always open to that. And also you can submit ideas or feedback to the AHA as well. And so we're always, again, looking for different ideas. And, I'm also in the same boat of, oh, I think this is so great, but someone else has an idea that it could be better than mine. And I'm always open to that too. So it's always that collaboration of helping each other out and helping to push each other to be the best that we can be. And that's what we're looking for when it comes to research. Okay, so
Irina, we do have a request to actually show getting into Science Direct and navigating it a little bit. So I know for privacy, if you want to stop sharing your screen and log in so we don't see your login information and then share it again, would you mind doing that?
that's totally fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me pull out here, if it'll let me. And so I also saw a question. So actually onto the questions part, so that wraps everything up. So Science Direct. So let me get. In.
And for anybody who's on here who does not have your Science Direct login and you are a member of AHA, just please feel free to email me and I'll send that information to you, as well as directions on how to log in for the first time, because it is a little complicated to get in there the first time.
Yeah, and also I have Science Direct for my other email. So my apologies, Adrian, I'm trying to get on.
Oh, that's okay. It doesn't matter which one you use.
Yeah, so I'm going to try making sure, because I have to use my authentication. It's letting me do that right now. So let me just quickly roll in there right now. But as I'm doing that, is there any questions that you guys have so far? I know it's a lot of information and research could sometimes have that connotation of being dry and boring, but it really isn't. And so it's just having that creativity and that curiosity for it. But any questions, any feedback, anything at all?
Hi, it's Sandy Winter.
Yes.
In the group, it was a case study group for pediatric PT case files, but we're gonna expand that some. And we've been talking about tying in the resource. So some of the people that are wanting like a hands-on deeper dive into things, we join us at the December 5th meeting. And moving forward, this is part of what we want to do. Thanks.
All right, now it's going to let me go in here. Sorry, you guys. But thank you for that update too. Just any way to help expand and our knowledge, and also with technology now, any of us across the country could be accessing this, which is really fantastic. Okay, here we go. Now it's working. All right, so as you can see here for Science Direct, it has everything and more here. It's a really fantastic platform. And so what I typically like to look at up here, so you could even do keywords, journal book title, anything like that. So I do horse-human relationship. And so here are some really wonderful articles that I've gotten so far. And so even like literally all these different ones like open access and whatnot. And so because I still have my other teaching credentials, I could access most articles still, thankfully. But here, as you could see, you could just put in keywords and you will get a plethora of different research articles and really take advantage of that. If you're a member of AHA, take advantage of this. This is fantastic. It's really wonderful. And as you could see, all different sorts of resources. And what you could do up here as well with the filter, sometimes if it's too, as you could see, over 77,000 articles. And so like we're fine here. And I always tend to go here as well, like research articles. And there's some great book chapters here as well to look at. And you could see how open access, how many articles you have access to at your fingertips. It's really, really fantastic. And so any questions so far about this? You can also do advanced search here too. Anything else? Any other questions you have about Science Direct or anything else you kind of wanted to see on this platform?
Irina, do you get the whole article or do you just get the abstract?
You get the whole article. So I guess just quickly what I could do Hold on, let's go back here so I could show you. And what's nice also too, there's a checklist. And so literally what I could do sometimes is just check off which articles I want and download them onto my folder. So everything is there already. So you could do view PDF. Here we go. And so you have everything right here at your fingertips. And it's also wonderful to recommended articles. So I found a lot of great ones here as well. Let's see the chat. And so any other questions or anything else you'd like to see here for a moment? All right, so I guess I'll take silence. Anything, Adria, on your end that you're seeing that I'm not?
Sorry, I was muted. No, I don't see anything else, Irina. The
All
chat's.
right, perfect.
There,
I wanna make
there
sure.
was a question on how to join the research committee.
Oh, okay. I did answer that.
Okay,
But in case you did not see it, you can just email me directly and then I will give you the information about it. So if you are interested, which would be wonderful, please just send me an email. And it's apeterson@theahainc.org, but you all have probably gotten pretty many emails from me, so you should have my email address.
So anything else, any other wrap up, any other feedback any of you have? Let's see. All right, well, I will take silence as a good thing. It's a Friday. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us on this beautiful Friday. We really appreciate it. And it's just nice to see that people are interested in research and to really help elevate what we do. And it's really exciting. So again, any questions you ever have, always feel free to contact us. And we're always happy to help. And learn something new too. A lot of times people email me, oh, did you see this and whatnot? It's always a really fun experience. All right, Adria, I think that's our cue.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And our next Lunch and Learn will be in January. So we're taking the month of December off, but keep an eye out for my announcements about the next topic and the date for the January Lunch and Learn. Thank you all and enjoy the rest of your Friday.
So Adria, you want to stay on for just 1 second?
Of course.
Yeah. You're just having to blast back there. Good, though. He did really good. So I have to give him.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm. Two more left. There we go. All right. So how do you think that went?
I think it went really well. Yeah. You had a lot of great information. So thank you so much. Yeah, I think that we only had about half the people attend who had signed up. So I'm going to send them the recording and then I'll get it posted on the website too. But that seems to kind of be typical of the Lunch and Learns. So, but it was still a good turnout. I think at the most we had 25 people on here. So
nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Any other feedback you ever have also about future ones I help out with or anything, please always let me know.
And I am sending out a survey to everyone like we do with all of our courses. But since this particular one, there's no CEs associated with it, it's not mandatory that they fill out the survey, but hopefully we will get some people to fill it out and then you'll get some feedback from that too.
Perfect. So you think it went well though, right?
I do. Yeah, I think it went great.
Awesome. Well, happy to hear that. So
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I think it definitely is a topic that more people need to